Hello and welcome to the Simplicity of Happiness When More is Too Much. This podcast offers tips and techniques for a better life.
And before we start with another episode of the Simplicity of Happiness podcast, I would like to remind you that you can find out all about me and my thoughts on simplicityofhappiness.com, as well as Patreon, where I am providing extra content for all of you who support me and the education of children in Africa. And now relax and enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome back to the Simplicity of Happiness podcast. And I'm super proud and happy that I have a guest who never appeared on the English show so far. Well, some of you might know that a long time ago, I think it was around 2014, I started this show as a German podcast. And I had a co-host, friend, and somebody who, well, somehow forced me into this. And he's my guest today, Anthony James Owen. Hello, Tony.
Hello, Flo.
Well, we are talking so often these days. Since Corona, we don't have travel time anymore. So we started a mastermind and are writing on a book. So this is something absolutely not unusual for the two of us. And since you have an English-speaking background, I thought it's about time that we talk about you on the show.
Okay. Happy to be here.
Happy to be here. That's perfect. There is a ton that we could talk about. And Tony, you have been an inspiration to me and a mentor in a lot of challenging situations for myself. And I always valued and value your opinion. And I think that it might be partially because you have some learnings and some lessons that most of us in the Western world read about, but never had by themselves. You used to live in a Zen monastery and not around the corner in Japan and in Japanese. How did that happen?
Oh, yes. So first of all, I learned about meditation when I was probably 5.5 or 6 years old. I started, my sister, she was a judo practitioner, and she took me to the judo class, and I hated it. I was 5 years old, and I was always thrown to the ground, and I didn't like it. So at least for the first 10-15 years of my martial arts experience, I didn't like judo. And so I was on the brink on stopping it. And I talked with the instructor, and he said, okay, yeah, I get it. You're a small boy. But I have a karate class. And this was 1968. Honestly, nobody knows, at this time, nobody knew what karate was. So he said, we have a karate class and you can come to this class and you will be the only kid, but, we will do it anyway. And so I said, yeah, why not? Better than being thrown on the ground.
Thrown around.
So I went to the karate class and started my karate education. And almost from day one, my trainer, my sensei, told me, and he was the first German being educated from Japanese people in Japan. So he was probably one of the few people in the 60s being educated and trained by Japanese to his black belt, to get his black belt. And so he said, in the beginning of every class, we sat down and we meditated. So before we did anything else, we meditated. And so my my introduction to meditation was at a very, very young age. And it was a very easy meditation we did. Just did a breathing meditation. So you breathe in, you count 1, you breathe out, you count 2, and then at 10, you start it all over if you don't mess up till 10. So this was the beginning. So I was starting meditating without any background. It was nothing. We are not talking about religion or what it will make or change in you or with you or what it will transform you to. It was just a part of the practice before we do any. It was like a separator from school, for example, coming out of school as a boy, or for the adult people coming from work. So whether it was a separator to the training classes. So, and then at the beginning and at the end, we had a very short meditation practice. So I learned just this breathing meditation, and that was the beginning. And it took me a couple of years later to get the background of Zazen, the sitting meditation, which is called Zen in the West. To learn there was Buddha and all these, stories about this guy bringing meditation to the world and changing his destiny by learning to meditate and stopping the circle of dying and rebirth and everything and pain and so in the world. So it was maybe 10 years later that I was getting into that. So in the beginning was just the practice. And so there was no intellectual work with meditation. It was more sit down and do it. Okay. No fussing around, thinking or whatever, sit down, do it. Right. So, which is a very good practice on meditation. So sit on your.
Yeah. What is there? Well, is there anything more important than sitting down and doing it?
In a
meditation?
Way, no. In a way, no. The funny part is that meditation in itself is a very hard practice and a very easy one at the same time. So most people can sit down and watch TV for 6 hours. So they have no problems with that. And so, and if you say, can you have a meditation practice for 10 minutes? They go, oh no, I can't sit down for 10 minutes. But they can do it for hours on front of the TV. So it's very hard because our mind is always running. So people are thinking, I'm thinking, you're sitting down, you want to meditate, and then you have always, oh, I have to do this. I forgot that. I need to buy milk or whatever. So you're always thinking, and meditation is helping you to slow down for a brief moment in the meditation session to non-thinking. So it's not that you will stop it. So it will stop when you're dead, but as long as you're alive, you will think. But it will slow down you and give you some moments on transcendence, some moment of quietness without you getting it that you're thinking, or maybe you're not thinking for a couple of seconds, maybe. And so I always compare with two things. One is a little bit like sleeping. So before you sleep, the moment you're awake, but before you fall asleep, so you're there, but you're not there, And sometimes meditation is like that, and you feel as fresh as you will after sleeping have a good night's sleep. So it will refresh your body and your mind, but it's not what you aim for. It's nothing that you get. It's not like a pill or something. You just sit down and meditate. It will make your life a little different in the long run.
Okay. Well,
so what happened after?
What happened in between Japan and that 5-year-old boy?
Yes. So I had a very maybe because I was one of the first people learning karate in Germany, and then later my father was with the military, so we traveled around, but as a family. But in this time, I studied karate, and it was something which I liked. I liked the it's a very simple way of doing it. So nothing else but just the gi, so which is the thing you put on. It's like a working clothes. It looks like working clothes for the Japanese people. So it's just a very simple dress you put on, and it's just hands and feet. That's all you have. So it's you need nothing else, right? So you have just this, and so it's a very simple way of martial art. It's as meditation. It's not simple, but in a way it's simple. Right? So I studied karate, and I became pretty well. I was not good in the more formal parts of it, like the kata, which is a very formal, strict routine of movements which you do. And I was good enough for all the passing of the grades to get a better belt, but not good in the terms of a competitor on that. I was good in fighting karate, so I was a good competitor in the kumite part of karate, which is the fighting between two competitors. And so when I was 13, I was in a way adopted from the national coach of Germany at this time, which was, as in all countries outside of Japan, a Japanese instructor. So this was their main strategy from the Japanese karate people, to have on top of the national system always the national coach being a Japanese sensei, a Japanese trainer. So you always have this Japanese guy, and they were connected, of course, with their Japanese headquarters, if you want to, and they were talking back to the Japanese people in Japan and saying, we have seen some good people, some good karate class, and you could, and they had a program when they sent you the 10 best people in Europe were sent to Japan. Roughly, most of them were between 17 and 18 years old at this time. So I was one of the 10 guys being sent over, and so from my family, we were 3 children, and so we couldn't have afforded sending me over to Japan. It would have been too expensive. So the only way to get there was they invited you to come, right? So they invited me for 1 year apprenticeship, if you want to.
Which year was that?
1980. Is that right? Oh,
maybe.
No.
I can't recall that year.
80, yes, 80.
Okay.
40 years ago.
And where did you go?
The first stop of my destination was Tokyo. So I went from Germany to Tokyo, and I went to an English-Japanese school. So it was mainly an English school to finish my education. And we had Japanese classes, but as you can imagine, it's a very difficult language in a way. So at this time I did spoke well enough to buy food and say hello and chit chat and have a girlfriend and all that stuff. What you have as a young boy, as a teenager, but not good enough to have philosophical discussions with anybody, right? So it's more very under. So I went to Japan, and
did you know any Japanese before?
No, that's the ones you need for the training sessions. So all commands in karate are Japanese. So if you count, it's ichi, san, 1, 2, 3. You always do it. All the terms and what kind of attack or block you use is in Japanese. But it's not that you really be able to speak. It's a very special vocabulary for that. And so I did learn some at this time, not so bad, good enough to go out and buy.
Survive. Okay.
Yeah. To survive, yes. And we had an international school, and we had some Japanese lessons, but 80-90% of the classes were in English. So I just had my formal education to finish my formal education in Japan so far. And I went to karate classes 2 times a day, very early in the morning, 5 o'clock.
Before school?
Before school, 1 class, and another class after school. So we were invited by the Japanese Karate Association, which is the World Association for Karate. And so they expected us, of course, to train a lot. So we had training sessions 6 to 7 times, 6 to 7 days a week, almost any day, and we had 2 training sessions a day. So we had a lot of training. And then you had school, and then you had training, and that's it. So it was funny. And at this time in Japan, if you go to Tokyo today, you will see, of course, foreigners. So people traveling from other countries. You will see not a lot. It's not that 10% of the people running around. Maybe in Tokyo, 5% of the people are foreigners and tourists and stuff. And at the time when I traveled there in the 80s, almost none was a foreigner. So you didn't see any foreigners at all. So you will always be this crazy foreigner for them, right? So and I was lucky enough that the karate teacher, my sensei in Japan, he in a way adopted me like a son. He for whatever reason, from the 10 people being sent over, he liked me from the beginning and said, you will come into my home and you will stay. We were all put into families, which is very unusual in Japan. Normally you wouldn't get into a family. So we were put into families, and I was put in the sensei's family. So his wife and he himself, he took me in their home. And I didn't know that it was special. So I had no clue that it's very unusual. We all didn't have any idea that it's very unusual to put children or other people, no matter whom, into your own home. So, but anyway, we didn't know that. So we were part of the house life of these Japanese people, and he asked me about what I'm interested in. And now sorry for that long introduction, but then it moved me from Tokyo to a small city on the coast, which is 50 minutes by train from Tokyo, 45, 50 minutes. So, which in Japan is a short distance because it's so big. Tokyo is so big. So if you go 50 minutes, it's nothing. And this is a small town called Kamakura. And Kamakura, if you ever will make it to Japan, is one of the most beautiful one of the plenty beautiful cities, small villages or whatever you call it, small towns in Japan. And it's in a way what you think Japan will look like. So it's these temples and another temple and another one and another one. So you will see a lot of temples and so it's on the coast. It's a very small town, especially for Japanese people. And it was for a very short time in the history of Japan was the government capital of Japan before it came back to Edo, so to Tokyo. So these small city was and is the home of one of the main temple of the Zen Buddhism. My karate sensei knew the running Zen teacher in Kamakura. And he called this guy in Japanese and said, I have this young fellow and he would love to know more about the Zen. And could you put this guy into your monastery for 6 months?
So all of this was during the first year of your stay in Japan, when you were supposed to go to Japan to learn karate on a sponsorship by the Japanese Karate
to
Association.
My karate, yes.
Well, perfect, yes, of course. and you used to live at the karate master teacher's house.
Yes.
And he asked you what you really want.
No, what was your? He asked me always, what do you want to see? What is interesting for you? And of course, it doesn't mean you will stop having your karate lessons no matter what you do, right? But at least, what else would you want to see? And
what did you say? Did you say, I want to see Kamakura, or did you see a?
No, I didn't. At this time, I didn't know anything about Kamakura in terms of what it is. It's one of my favorite spots still, maybe because of my experience there, but it's still one of the most valuable spots I always visit if I'm in Japan. So this is one small city which I always go, but maybe it's something like you always go to your hometown if you're not living there, when you go back to your main country. And in a way, I always loved Japan because of this karate and this mystical, fantasy world of samurai and all that, right? So, so my sensei, he sent me over to his friend, to the guy who was running the monastery, and I was in contact with him for more than 30 years after leaving Japan, with both of them, and they died. So both were somewhere in the 90s when they died, and I have contact with their successors still. So I had a very, very, very friendly connection with these two men, and so I was going to Kamakura without knowing what it was. Is it a big town? Is it just a temple? Is it in the mountains? I didn't know anything, because at this time, it's 40 years ago, there was not so much, maybe there was, but it's not like today where we had no internet, so you couldn't look up anything. You had no Google Maps. So when I was calling my family at home, which you couldn't easily because nobody had a phone, but if you had a phone at home, you called your family, it was, I don't know, 20 euros a second or a minute or so. It was so expensive that you couldn't. So I was writing airmail letters, and they took 3.5 weeks to get there. So you write in November for your family and to Christmas. So because it's so long, the distance was so long, even airmail took forever. So I was writing letters, and you didn't have Skype and FaceTime and Zoom or anything. So you had your family on the phone once every quarter, and you were really on your own. So, and I was sent to this monastery, to the guys, to the monks, and my Japanese is not good enough for most of the stuff at this time, and still isn't. So we were just communicating body language, looking what people were doing and trying to imitate, right? And so they took me in, and they did what they do. They're not big talkers, so you don't have any issues with that, because they meditate, they're just quiet. So most of the time they're just working and doing their stuff without any interruption. And so what did I do? I went in and just tried as humble as possible, just to learn, to be open enough and just see what they're doing and enjoy the experience of being there. And so the monastery is a very, very old temple. It's a big one. It's a big area. And it's still in operation. I believe it's a couple of 100 years old. And so a part of it is open for the public. So you can walk in. If you go to Kamakura, you can just buy a ticket and go into the public areas of the monastery. And then they have this non-public areas where the monks live and work and meditate and study. And so this is exactly what you learn, right? So I had my own small room, and I just got the monk's dress, and they cut your hair down to your length of hair, no hair. So you look more a monk than I do. And then you get your routine, which is one part. What you learn, maybe it's interesting for people to know what will you learn in a monastery. And there are some things which you can learn. One is they have a daily routine. The day is very structured. So there is a time when you will be up, and it is very early. So 4:30, 4 o'clock, depending on the time of the year. And in this routine, you have sessions of meditating and working, always changing. So not changing the session from working to meditating to working to meditating. And the structure is in normal work days is always the same. So if you have most of the time of the year, you have the same day structure than you have the day before. So it's always the same day. So it's a habit of anything. So you wake up at the same time, you do your meditation session in the morning, you have some monasteries do breakfast, if you want to call that. So it's a little bit like, I don't know, some rice cooked in water. I don't know. So it's more congee, they call it in Chinese. So it's something you eat it or not. Some just have tea in the morning. That's it. Then they have they're all vegetarians, so they only eat plants. And so they do it because they value the life of anything so much that they will not kill an animal for eating. So they eat plants because we have to eat something, but the pain or the bad karma it introduced in their lives is smaller if they eat vegetarian food. So that's the reason they eat vegetarian food, as long as they are growing it on their own monastery. And so in a monastery, you have fields where they work on their own vegetables, and they collect food which is part of the tradition to go out and beg for food. And this is what you do. So part of the routine is getting outside of the monastery, go into the city or in the whatever village or wherever you live, and begging for food and say, please give us food. So and then you eat everything which will be put in your bowl. So if this is chicken, you eat chicken. So it's not, as long as they can control it in terms of doing it on their own, they eat vegetarian food. If they collect food and somebody, which probably no Japanese person would do, but somebody put fish or chicken or something in your bowl, then you will not throw it away. You will eat it. And it will cook all together. So if this, on the days when they're begging food, which is not because they need to beg for food, it's just to make themselves humble. So even if this is a rich monastery, because they maybe are famous for their temple or whatever, and they have a lot of tourists coming in and they have a lot of money, they will always beg for food outside of the temple because of the tradition. So we have a routine, and some days you go out and you beg for food. And it's funny because you get this Japanese hat, which is something like looks like a very big bowl, so a flat big bowl, and a bamboo hood hat. And this hat is for a Japanese person in their size. If you put it on, you can't see the face, so you're not knowing which one if you give food, which monk will get it. You will just see the monk as an ideal thing, right? Not as a human being it is. But if you are a European, and you are a European and being 6'3", so I put on the thing, it doesn't help. Every small Japanese person, of course, couldn't see my face. So it was so funny because first of all, you're a weird looking foreigner in a monk's dress, having this bamboo thing on top of your head and asking for food. And so they were always laughing, which is very unusual for Japanese people, but they were always be very amused about myself begging for food and with the other monks, of course, together. And so if you get money, you give it back to the temple, and the temple is using the money for, if it is money you get, for buying some food like rice, which you couldn't grow yourself in most temples, or to buy some stuff. But any money which is left, as in always all religious traditions, is is used to help people who have nothing. So they use the money for other people. It's not to enrich themselves. They don't have anything. So they just have their stuff.
I would like to go back just a little bit. You said that you were recommended to the temple, and from that moment on, you started to live in the temple as well, or did you stay at your?
No, I lived in the temple.
Okay, so you lived it. And did you still? Excuse me. Did you still do karate?
Yes.
So you had to go to
still.
And
no, I didn't have to. No, I didn't need to go back to Tokyo. This wouldn't be possible because of you would need 1 hour to start at 4:30, then go. You couldn't make it. So I had a local karate dojo in Karakuma, and went there for the time being in the temple. And
for the first week, yes, and the first week that you lived in, how do you say it correctly? Kamakura.
Kula.
The first week.
Kamakura.
Yeah,
Kamakura.
Could be somehow Arabic as well. So the first week that you lived there, what was the strangest thing to you?
In this area of Japan, it's hot most of the time, humid and all that. But I was in the monastery in winter, which is not very cold in this part of the country, but cold enough. And the monastery is not really heated. I was freezing to death. It was so cold, you couldn't imagine. Being used to air conditioned or heated environments, now having an unheated room, which I had in Berlin too. Don't get me wrong, I was used to cold, but not to this kind of cold. So it was very cold. And the most devastating thing was for Japanese people, and even in karate classes, it's quite normal to have no chair, to sit on the ground, to kneel all the time, to sit on your knees. And it's okay if you do it in a karate class for 10, 15 minutes. There's an instruction and you sit on your knees and everybody is doing something and you get up and do again. But in a monastery, you sit you sit on the ground for hours, and it's so painful because your legs, you're not used to it, and it's so the biggest part of the first couple of weeks, I was coping with my inability to handle the pain of sitting there without a chair or a sofa or something, right? So it was a lot of physical pain to endure, which is not so tough for a karate student, but it's very difficult to kneel for hours and hours in one sitting. And so this was hard. The other thing was not for the first time, even in Japan, being in Japan, having a little knowing of the language, you really get thrown back to your own personality, to your own. You're always being alone in a way. You know what I mean? So you just have this few minutes. It's not that people don't want to talk with you, or they're not talking with you, or they don't like you, or something. But it's almost all signs at this time were completely in Japanese. It's not like today. Today you have in the train system, you have Japanese and English, always both. But at this time, 40 years ago, there was no English signage, so everything was Japanese, and so it feels like, okay, you're on your own always, no matter what you do. You in a way it's lonely, and it's not, you know what I mean? So you have to be a person who can handle loneliness or being with your own thoughts good enough to get through a year without enough language skills for the language you're traveling to. So then you have this routine, which is always something between three big blocks. One is meditating, practice, just sitting and meditate. One is working in the monastery. You work every day for a couple of hours, and they change what kind of work you did in the week or every other week. So could be that you worked on the field, or could be that you cleaned the monastery inside the building, you cleaned the building, or you were part of the kitchen cooking for the monks. And so it changed, the work changed and whatever, but you worked for a couple of hours then you had this, I always say, learning or studying. It could be there was a presentation from the Zen master talking about some of the Buddha's lessons or whatever. So you learned something about Buddhism, or it would be you study on your own. So, but it's a very, it's something like being sitting in meditation, sit, work, study. So it was use your brain, but not only use your brain, also use your body for the community, for the community of monks and for the community itself. So we worked in the monastery, and sometimes we worked at elderly homes. So we cleaned the buildings or did something or whatever. And so it was always changing from 1 week to week. But in a way, it was always the same procedure. So wake up, clean yourself, tea, maybe food, maybe not. Meditate, work. Main meal was at noon. And then after that, nothing till next morning. So we had one main meal. That's it.
Intermittent fasting.
Yes, they did it for thousands of years. But we had most of us had only a tea in the morning, and in the day we had a lot of tea, but had a full meal at noon, and that's it. and only for festivities, public Buddhistic holidays or something like this, you had maybe another meal, so 2 meals. But 90% of the days of the year you had, or 95% of the days, you had 1 meal a day, a lot of tea in between, and that's it.
There goes the tea.
There goes the tea.
What would you say from today's perspective?
Yeah.
What was the most important lesson to learn for a young person, a young man?
A lot, of course.
Except for kneeing.
I did even learn that, but anyway, one is having a routine in your life, having a structure for a day, a week, a month, a year. And
okay, and now wait, I would let us come back to that question in a little bit, because there's one question that is somehow daunting me already, because you are talking a lot about routines and procedures.
Yes.
And as you know, I'm a person who likes that as well, because for me, it's a lot of simplifying if I don't have to question and think about what I'm doing next, but if I can follow a procedure. On the other hand, people who are artists and highly creative, very often they need to not follow a routine. What do the Zen monks think about creative artists who are always a little bit chaotic and who live into the day? Is this something evil, or is this something?
No. They don't judge. This is something which you learn when you become a Zen monk or a student of Buddhism. That's not about judging. This is better than the other thing. They do it because exactly what you just said. The monastery is structured in a way to give you as much capacity as possible and energy as possible to meditate and to study. They work because it's the right way as a human being. They say there's a famous saying in Japan, which translated into no work, no food. So if you're not working, you should not eat, except you are ill. But if you are okay, you should work for your food. And so for them, it's connected. So you have to work and you have to meditate. It's not only this meditation is better than working. No, you work into the toilet, right? So you have to clean the toilet. They didn't have a water flush toilet we have in the rest of Japan. They have something like when you go for camping. So just a hole in the ground. And so somebody has to go in and dig it out and put it on the field. So you have all this, sometimes you have very dirty work. You have very tedious work. You have very hard work. And it's part of that, because I say that meditation is not only sitting on the ground and meditate, or sit on a pillow and meditate. Meditation can also be found in the way you work. So you can work in a mindful way, which is like meditation too. So they call it work meditation. So they call it a meditation while you work. It's a working meditation. So they work their meditation. So they do the work while they're in a totally focused on that. So the routine is taking away energy, is conserving energy for the meditation practice. So you can follow your practice of meditation, and you don't need to decide, do I put on a pink dress or a blue dress or a brown dress? Because every Zen monk has the same outfit. So it's a dark brown dress. So it's always the same. So you have two of these, one for each season. So you have a one for winter, and another one you can wash, and then another one for summer, and then another one to wash. So you have 4 outfits, 4 dresses, and that's it. And hold on, I will show you something which I brought from Japan, if I found it. Here we go. So this is, they can't see it maybe if you just hear us, but this is what you get when you get there. So you get a bunch of bowls, which is used for your daily dishes. So you get, of course, you get your chopsticks, and you get this thing which you can clean with a cloth. You can put on. You can clean the ones, and then you have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bowls. And
they all neatly fit into each other.
Yes, very nice. So every monk get this. This is your equipment for your eating. This is your personal one, and then you get your dresses, and maybe your collection of a book or two with Buddhism signs or something, right? Something that you will learn later. And this is all you have. You have a pair of shoes and that's it, right? So you have clothing, you have your bowls for your food, and you have your cup where you can drink your tea, and that's all you need. So they're not judging people of being creative or not. What they do is they have built a system which is perfect for pursuing meditation. So they build it that you can meditate. The best way to operate as a meditator is in this kind of environment. You don't need to think about what you put on. You don't think about when will I wake up this morning. Everything is structured. You know, no energy is wasted on unnecessary decisions. So
yeah, little
that's
confusion.
the reason. No confusion about anything. And then you have the
and no Facebook, I guess.
No, nothing. So in the secretary, of course, I have a secretary because it's also an economic entity. A temple is not running by its own, right? So they have to work on it, and so they collect money and they use it to renovate it, and you need maybe a car to go from A to B. So it's like a company, of course. Yeah. So there's a secretary and there's a cook and there's a lot of functions, and then you have this ordinary monks who are just studying Buddhism, and the only change, first of all, you need to know that in Japan they had a little bit more seasons than we have. So originally they had, I have to look it up, it was something like 16 or 20. So they have a lot of seasons in the year. So everything was a special period of a time. So when this kind of tree gets yellow leaves, then this is this whatever, right?
When this is blooming, yeah, okay.
When this is blooming, and then there's a first time when the snow is melting is a small season in itself. And so they don't have this, they originally in their tradition, they didn't have this 4 seasons thing we have. So in this period, there are sometimes special events. Sometimes these are Buddhistic festivities. Buddha's birthday, for example, in April is a very big one all over Japan. And so they have a lot of, sometimes you have a week with something exciting going on because there's some change. But they didn't need it. It's just, there's this special thing, we do it. They have something called sessions, which are week-long hardcore meditation practice. So every couple of weeks, they do a week of very, very intense meditation practice. So they sit down for 10, 12, 15 hours a day to progress in meditation, so to get better. And so there's a flow and an ebb and a flow from hard to routine, to an easy routine, to hard again, right? And which is part of it. But then you have this 3 blocks of work. You have this kitchen work, because if you have to cook for 20 or 30 people every day, somebody has to prepare all this food. You know, you have to eat a lot of carrots and potatoes and rice, and so you have to wash, to cut, to prepare, to cook, to whatever. And so it's a lot of physical work. And then you have this work on the fields to grow vegetables and all that. And then you have the cleaning of the buildings. And so this is one of these 3 you will get every day. So you will not be cooking, which is a very special job in the monastery, but you will help to prepare the food. Maybe you work on the onions or whatever. No, they don't eat onions, but whatever. So you work on these parts, and there's something. They have a lot of small routines which are very weird in the beginning. When I started in the kitchen, they said, "Oh, it's nice that you are here. The first thing we do is we clean the kitchen." Okay, and then you clean the kitchen. To be sure, it is a clean kitchen. But before you cook, you clean the kitchen. So you clean the kitchen before you cook. And the kitchen is clean before you cook, but you clean the kitchen before you cook. So you clean the kitchen, then you cook, then you clean again. So why are they doing it? It's something like, okay, to be really in cooking, you have to prepare your mind and your body to not only prepare the ingredients, but to clean the kitchen, clean your mind and clean the kitchen. So it's cleaning. It's not like these obsessive cleaning of people getting some disorder. It's something like you have to clean because it prepares your mind and your body for the work which will come when you cook. So they clean the kitchen before they cook. Then they cook, then they clean the kitchen. It's a little weird, but honestly, I do it today still. When I cook, I clean my kitchen, then I cook, then I clean the kitchen. So I use that as a part of it. And every work is you always try to be in the moment. This is today. It's just a saying, be in the moment. But
the biggest task for me, you mean?
The biggest task for all of us is being in the moment. And this is what they use different things to remind you on that. You hear a bell once in a while, which is nothing of a timekeeping thing, but just to get back to the present moment. So you work on the field, and I don't know when or what or who is doing that. Some has the responsibility to every couple of 20, 30, 1 hour, whatever time to ring the bell. So they ring the bell, or they punch the bell, whatever. And so you hear the bell and you stop. You come back to the present moment. You're working on the field, or you're cutting something, and you maybe think about something else, and then you hear the ringing bell, and it's a reminder of coming back to the present moment. So they have built the small cues in the day to make sure that you always come back to the present moment. And then some nights after work and having your last tea, or before you went to bed, we had these lectures from the Zen master itself. So he's explaining history or something, and he's maybe saying, I saw what you did. Of Japanese, of course, I didn't understand, but or only roughly. So he's explaining stuff. to the monks. He is picking some of them up and say, I saw that you were not really cleaning. Your body was cleaning, but your mind wasn't there. So he's picking some of the people out of the group and give them feedback. And then you had this, when there were these big intensive sessions, you had the one-on-one meetings with the Zen master itself. And he's checking your progress. So
progress towards what?
To what, if your mind is improving in getting mindful. So
isn't that some kind of judgment?
Probably. He's giving you feedback on your preparedness, because there is an ideal, which is in Buddhism, to become a Buddha, in a way. Become a Buddha. And to become a Buddha, your mind has to let go of everything and not judging and being in the moment and everything they're talking about. And so they will give you questions, unsolvable questions, where you should come up with a creative answer. They call it koans. So you get a koan, and a very difficult question to answer, which you can't answer with your logic. You only can, if your mind is prepared, you probably, maybe one day, you come up with an answer and don't get hit by the master. He said, oh yeah, yes, you did it. And then you get another one. And then after a couple of these, they say, yeah, no, now you are in the state we think you should be. So now you see the truth. And so you have these sessions of very long meditation practice. And in the nights of these sessions, you get the one-on-ones. Every monk gets his one-on-one. And then you have work and study for the next ones in a couple of weeks. So this is a little bit the routine. And on top of it, if you are still awake and still have energy left after a full day of everything, you can study on your own on Buddhism. So you can study the scriptures and study the books.
What would you say should be one of the major lessons for today's society? What would help if we could implement it in our everyday life?
A normal human being, not living in a monastery. A monastery is easy to live in because everything is prepared to make you meditate, right? There's nothing else, no Facebook, no TV, no work outside of the monastery work. And so it's an easy environment in a way for this purpose. The best thing I always try to help people to get there is, first of all, to get to a routine which will help you to structure life and make it a little easier to operate your daily life. Second is learn to meditate. The simplest version of meditation you can learn is good enough. There's no better or worse or whatever. It's just different meditation forms, and just learn one which fits you as a person. Maybe some people love to have some guided meditations like on their iPhone, and then they listen to the meditation, right? And they like that somebody is talking. Okay. Some people like to have like I learned when I was a small kid to learn breathing meditation. So they just need some meditation where they count their breath. Others are getting exercises to think about. Whatever. Others have sounds to repeat in their mind or saying them. So there are so many different ways, but in the end, it doesn't matter. You just need one which fits you, and make it a part of your day. It's not, it's not these, you have to do it. It's not a must. It should be something which is like you're brushing your teeth. It's like brushing your mind exercise, like brushing your teeth for your mind. So it's good enough, even if it's only 2-3 minutes. It's not needed that it has to be 20 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour or so. But just sit down, stop what you do, and concentrate on your breathing for 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, whatever. And if you can do it 2 times a day, perfect. If you can do it 2 times a week, I'm fine. You know what I mean? It's nothing about, it's not a competition to win. I have a streak of 250 meditation sessions in a row. No, it's more, you do it in over plenty of years, you will see that it will help you to cope with the stuff which life throws at us. So what is the result? We're not meditation for results, but you get results. You know what I mean? It's not you're not doing it to get a result, but you get one. So most people, you get into the middle ground of your emotions. You get into the middle, so you're not going into the extremes. You're handling your emotions better. If something happens, you keep calm. You're not getting angry most of the times. Yeah, you can get angry. We're not Buddha maybe in the beginning, but in the long run, you get easier. It gets easier and easier to handle that. So there's something like a calmness which comes into the life of people meditating for a while, which is the stuff which I've seen every time people start it. In the long run, they get a little relaxed, calmer than before. Or a lot.
What changed for you?
2 abilities. First of all, maybe 3. Spending a little bit more time in the present moment than before. But I'm doing it now for over 40, almost 50 years, over 50 years now meditating. So for me, it's normal, but being a little bit more in the moment than without meditation. Second is being able to handle negative emotions in myself better than when I was younger. So don't get crazy as often as before. I'm coming from a family where most people were getting crazy in terms of freaking out when something happens, and so I'm not freaking out. And most people say, I have an inner balance. For them, they look from the outside and say, it feels like you have an inner balance, and probably it's true. And so it was coming from meditation. I know it's coming from meditation. And the last and very important part is you learn how to focus your mind. So you're able to concentrate better because of your meditation practice. So it's not that you say, I'm doing it to do that, to learn that, but it will come probably when you do it. So.
If you were to go into a Zen monastery now,
yes,
what would you put your focus on?
Maybe enjoying it more. Not trying to reach something, but just being in the moment. You know what I mean? Just enjoying this unbelievable cultural experience which you can have. This being behind the curtain thing, seeing, and you have these people. They are so If you have the opportunity to meet with monks, which being monks for a long time, they are so you have this feeling these people are in their own rock solid, like rocks. Nothing can really get them out of balance. And even when my Zen master was 90 some and he got sick, he got really sick, so sick that in the end he died because of that. And he got his diagnosis. He was laughing, and it was not crying and laughing at the same time. He was happy, and all around him, all people around him said, "Why are you happy?" First of all, he said, "Come on, guys, we were born, so we will die. That's easy, right? So of course, when you will be born, you will die." Second, I don't have a disease which is infectious. So all my friends and all my monks and everybody else can visit me in the upcoming months. So they can accept stuff no matter what is coming in their way, right? So it's I have a very high admiration for these kind of people. So they develop in this. They're not perfect. Nobody is perfect, but they change from whatever they were before to a better version of themselves. And so, if I would go again, I would at least try to enjoy it more. So.
Mm-hmm. And now that we have listeners today, but we don't see them personally right now.
Yeah.
So the only one sitting in front of you being me. Let's imagine you talk to our listeners and take me as an example. One recommendation that you would recommend me to look into.
Look for a comfortable place. Sit yourself into it. Don't overthink. Just sit down. Count your breath for a couple of minutes. And no matter what happens, enjoy it. For some of us, it's the most boring thing you can imagine. For most people, it's, especially in the beginning, they for the first few meditation sessions, I taught a lot of meditation classes in my life. Not as a professional, but just helping people. They asked me, "Oh, you learned meditation when you were 5 years old, yeah? Can you teach it?" "Sure. Sit down, we teach, right? So I will show you around. It's very easy to learn." And so in the first few sessions they have a lot of positive experiences. And so, wow, this was unbelievable. What, 10 minutes gone? It felt like 10 seconds, stuff like that. And then we try to repeat this experience all the time. So we push ourselves. Wow, this was a bad meditation. I had so many thoughts. Oh no, this was a good one. This one was better. I wasn't sitting right. Stuff like that. And I believe the best thing is whatever is coming in your way, take it and do whatever you can do with that. So you will sit down for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever, doesn't matter. And for some of us, you have a good day, it feels good, it's a good meditation. Sometimes it's like, what kind of idiot am I, right? I'm sitting here, I have so much to do, so I should work, I should not count my breath. But if you do, in the long run, this calmness and this in the moment being and everything will transform or expand over the day. So in the beginning, it's just for the 5 minutes you sit there, and then the 10 seconds after the meditation. If you do it as long as I do, it sometimes it covers my whole working day. You know what I mean? So I meditate for 20 minutes in the morning, and it covers almost my whole day. Not every day, but some days. And then the other one is the separator. If I do a second session at night, is my separator from work. So I am home not at work with my mind when I'm stopped. So, and I would invite everybody listening to that just to try it. Just go and sit down, have a comfortable. You don't need to, torture yourself like I did when I was young, sitting on a wooden floor for hours. But sit on a chair. It's easier to sit in the correct posture for long time frames, and it's easier to concentrate. But if there is a choice between no meditation in perfect form and a daily or a couple of days a week meditation in an imperfect or in a comfortable chair, go for the comfortable chair. So you can do it on a train, you can do it on an airplane, you can do it when you commute for work or whatever. You can do it in the sun, you can do it everywhere. Yeah, as long as you can sit, or you can even learn walking meditation when you walk from train station to your work. You can meditate while you're doing that. And so try to put a little meditation practice in your life, and that's all. And most people learning that, sometimes they stop for a longer time and then they come back to meditation. But it's something like, oh, I now I know it is good for me. It does something for me. I'm doing it again. Then maybe I lose it, forgot to do it, was so busy, and then I come back to meditating again. So it's a little bit like a massage. You always do when you have a massage. You say, oh, this was perfect. It was so nice. But then maybe you're not doing it every week. So then after half a year, you go again and you say, wow, that's great. What kind of idiot am I? I should do it every day. So it's the same with meditation. So just go and try it. And in the short, medium, long term, it will be a small tool in your life to have a happy life.
Let's go. Let's go and sit.
Let's go and sit.
Well, Tony, thank you.
Session, sorry.
Thank you so much. Wow, we could talk so much longer, I guess. Is there anything that you want our listeners to know about you?
Nah. Not really.
Well, if you do have a question, leave a comment wherever you see this, or just head over to simplicityofhappiness.com and leave me a comment or write me. I'll put the two of you in contact if you want. If you want to learn anything more about hypnosis, I wanted to say, because meditation. Very close. I think the state that you enter can be quite similar. Tony, as always, I enjoyed it a lot. I hope to be able to have you back here for some other kind of discussion anytime soon. And thank you.
Pleasure was all mine. Well, as always, being fun on being on the show.
I'll talk to you soon. Thank you very much, Tony.
Great day. Bye-bye.